Hello and welcome to today's daily news analysis. So today, 7th of Feb 2022, we are covering the Hindu newspapers Delhi edition. Now, as part of our initiative, I make it a point to share questions for mains answer writing practice, and you can get your answers evaluated for free. All you have to do is write your answers on pen and paper, make a PDF file and share it with us. No need for typing it or writing it in the comment section. And yes, you can always share a thumbs up and click on that like icon. Okay, so now today we have two questions. So one is about there was a picture actually of the smog gun. So smog gun and smog tower as a policy initiative. So that we are covering. Then learning in the internet age. So today on Mondays we have this education plus section. So there was an article on education which I believe is important for GS1. Right, and then we have an opinion on the Central Asia. We have the India Sri Lanka foreign ministers meet. So such topics are important, but it is here that we have mains based questions. Congress in Punjab has declared their CM face. So it will be Charanjit Singh Channi, right? So he'll be the chief minister if Congress gets elected. Now, this news per se is not that relevant from exam point of view, but yes, this news concerns something known as intra-party democracy. So, a question was asked on that effect. In fact, political parties itself is a part of your GA syllabus. So, some trends associated with it. Now, here the Congress chief, president, right, we presume he's the president. So he said that we have talked to the various stakeholders, we have talked to the party workers and taken a feedback. And like that, earlier this month, even the Aam Aadmi Party's convener had also said something like this. So intra-party democracy, that is a very important theme, and how political parties are sticking to the principles of democracy, they are or they are not. So these things are important to consider. Okay, unfortunately, Lata Mangeshkar ji passed away, right? So she's also known as the Nightingale of India. So very prominent figure. So she passed away. So it was prominently in the news. Center to tweak no build zones around monuments, right? So basically we have lot of historical monuments. So now the center, through a parliamentary act, there was an act earlier, Ancient Monuments and Archaeological Sites Remains Act. So this act is concerned with the preservation of archaeological sites in very simple terms. So it says that there are certain monuments, a rule has been changed that certain monuments which are of archaeological importance, so within this 100-meter radius, no construction activity will take place, right? So centrally protected monuments, no construction activity will take place, and 300 meters, this is a very, very big zone, especially if you consider the urban area. So 300 meters, it will be a regulated zone or regulated area. Now the issue is that no scientific evidence has been given as to what basis they have said that in the 100-meter vicinity, no construction activity will take place. Now just imagine yourself, when you were in the school and had football grounds. So imagine how much is 100 meters. So 100-meter radius, no construction. And imagine what will happen in urban areas. So that is problematic. Now, basic concern would be that these areas may be having some archaeological remains. It is quite possible that there would be an possibility of some reserves which they need to protect. So that would be a reason, but they have not documented as such. Okay, now from prelims point of view, we have Archaeological Survey of India listed in the news, right? So 2010 amendment was brought about without any inputs from Archaeological Survey of India. So Archaeological Survey of India, and it's very clear it is concerned with the archaeological findings that are taking place within the country. So it is the central agency for that purpose. So this we need to know. So this is coming under the Ministry of Culture. Fine, Central Ministry of Culture. And its founder was Alexander Cunningham. And again, this is important because Alexander Cunningham was the first person who excavated the site of Harappa. Not the Harappan sites, the exact site of Harappa. It was discovered by, it was excavated by him, but he could not find the date. Right, so that is how old this particular site is. So this we need to know some basic details. Okay, now there was this Delhi region particularly, in fact the entire North India, if we look at the world's most polluted cities, so out of 30 most polluted cities, 21 are in the northern plains, and Delhi stands to be one of the most polluted, top 5, it is always there. So there was this image, not precisely this image, but there was an image of an air gun, smog gun that is firing water to mitigate the severity of pollution that is there in the region. So I have a question before you, and here is the question. With reference to the severe pollution in the NCR cities, particularly in the winter months, right? Not the entire time, it's the winter months that is very, very bad. The states have resorted to deployments of anti-smog guns and towers. I have added towers later. What are its pros and cons? Give suitable smog mitigation measures, obviously given the severity of the problem. So this is the question that I have before you. Now, why do I say this? One is they are using this. There is a lot of this thing in the news. And further, at the same time, when Indian cities are investing in this, particularly North, we have China, which is saying that, which actually use these, they also had a lot of pollution. So they had a lot of smog towers and smog guns. But now they are pulling away from this system. They are not happy with the system. So India is investing more in Indian cities, but they are moving away. And that is why, what are its pros and cons? Give suitable smog mitigation measures based on whatever arguments that you present. Now let me explain. It's very simple. When you're writing your answer, you have to explain what are smog guns or smog towers, whatever it is written in the paper. So right, you explain the functioning of this. Then you say the positives and the negatives. I'll elaborate. And then come to the suitable conclusion, should we have it or not? So that you have to present. Now let's come to the smog guns. So smog guns, what are they? Basically, you must have seen when the, forget about the smog guns also. When we have this winter months, there is a lot of pollution. We have a lot of smog. And what is smog? Basically, smog is dust particles, the dust that is there plus the pollutants. So when they mix together, they become smog. And during the winter months, the air is denser, the air is heavy, and there is a phenomenon known as temperature inversion, which forms an air envelope. So that doesn't allow the air to escape. So therefore, we have more of the pollutants that are accumulating, and therefore we have more smog issue. Now you must have seen whenever the rain takes place, the air is cleaner. We have, towards my right side, I can see the mountains, and very, very clearly when rains take place, especially on the winter months for 2-3 days. So rains play a very important role. What does it happen? The rains, because of the water droplets that fall, along with it mixes the pollutants, and therefore the air is cleansed. So the smog gun is based on the same principle. As you can see, it's attached on a truck, which is throwing a spray of water in a specific area. So because of that, the pollution that was very severe will be mitigated, because the water with it will bring down the pollutants. Right? So that is the basic idea. And how does the smog tower function? Smog tower is very simple. There are filters over here. So the idea is to draw in air. There will be a fan. It will draw in air and it will send clean air outside. That is the idea. So in the nearby vicinity, it will improve the quality of air. It should improve the quality of air. Okay, so once you explain this, you can explain about the recent spending that has been there in the news. So you can do that. So once you do that, then come to the pros and cons. Start with the positives, that the pollution is very, very severe, and because of this, the pollution will come down. And given the severity of the problem because of the breathlessness and the declining air quality index, this is a needed initiative. Then come to the concerns. Then you can explain by starting and telling us about the evidence of China, where it's reconsidering and it is coming out of its investments that it made with smog guns and smog towers. So these towers are around 25 crore or something. And at the same time, India is considering investing in them. What are the concerns being expressed? Some of the concerns are that this is limited to a very small area. Right? Cities are not sealed as such that all the pollutants are getting targeted. The pollutants will go away, the pollutants will come up again. So it's not that effective. You can get maybe immediate relief, but again the pollutants will again come back. So it will not solve the problem. And this again, you see how much water it will affect the water availability of that region, and these regions are water scarce areas. So we do not have any scientific evidence as to what extent it is able to mitigate the problem. Then it is limited to specific area only to the nearby area, and once it stops functioning, again the pollutants will come. So it's not going to help. Rather, what it does is it creates a false sense of complacency that everything is fine, we don't have to worry, we have the smog towers and we can keep polluting. Don't write this is cynical, right? We can keep doing this. And in that process, we need to target the polluters. We have to penalize polluters and find out a way that the polluters use better filtration technologies and they don't pollute the air so much. So that has to be there. So this principle is also looked away with, done away with. And these, even if you look at the smog towers, they have the filters. So the filters are ultimately clogging because of the pollutants that are there. It is capturing the dust particle. What happens to the dust? The dust is eventually burnt, and again you are adding pollution to the area. So it adds to the pollution. So these are certain concerns with this. So what needs to be done? Now see, we cannot rule this altogether. We cannot go away from the situation altogether. If the air is very, very severely polluted, we have to do something. Then in that process, yes, these have to be there, but then it is not very effective. So a line to that effect you can write. If you just write, okay, positives, negatives, then way forward, that will not get, that is the difference between if a 10 marker question is there, you are only going to get 4 marks for that, even if you write all the points. Maybe if somebody is very generous, 5. But if you want 6 and 7 marks, then you have to write those fillers which complement your answer. That is very important. And that reflects your better understanding of the topic. So then on, you can tell us about that, yes, this has to be done, this may be done, but we also need to look at the sources of pollution. And the basic term over here is point source pollution. That is, we can specifically point out from which sources the pollution is coming. So we need to consider the mitigation, the pollution that is coming from vehicular pollution, construction dust, right? We can pinpoint the area, therefore it is point source. Something that is coming from the farm, it is known as non-point, right? We cannot specifically pinpoint that the pollution is coming from which area. Thermal power plants. We need to look at better filtration. We need to look at better regulation by the pollution control boards. Electric vehicles should be there. So such policy should be there. Transit-oriented urban development should be there. So such initiatives you can refer in your answer, and all of this adds value to your presentation. Okay. Discuss the role of internet in shaping the education landscape in India. So this is the article over here, and all the points that I've marked have suddenly gone away. Okay, so this is in the education sector. So I think we all know what is internet doing in the education landscape. In fact, us having a class together also at this point and me able to showcase the news article, annotate, use maps, other things, that also complements the way we were educating. Right? During my time when we were doing the offline classes, the teacher will make the geographical map and spend a lot of time. But here just an image and everything is done. Okay, so here we have certain points, and it basically tells us about the education landscape, how it has affected. You can write it in your own words. Then it tells us about how research has benefited, how it is very important to just Google terms, Google facts, right? Something about women's safety or anything, I just tell you, type NCRB next to it, you'll find it. So it becomes very easy for research related activities, and not just for our answer writing, but also for collaboration, for identifying thesis, documentation. Everything can be easily found, and people can collaborate very easily because of this. So e-learning has helped people can learn anywhere, anytime, right? This is there. And further, I think one more point, it has also made it cost effective. Now the flip side, the concerns associated with it is that one of all is that it has brought lot of casualness to the system of education. That formality which is to be there has done away with, right? I have seen some online live classes not dressed properly, somebody is lying down, and right, that teaching has, the student also has to be sitting and writing things and actively preparing. That has to be there. So that doesn't take place. Then we have this malpractices during, I think we're all aware of this thing, when online exams are there. So we refer to the book. It's like an open book exam. So that thoroughness is not there in evaluation activities, and malpractices take place. Cheating takes place. Then there is the issue of cyberbullying, trolling. So these things are also there. So when students are more on internet, they are exposed to that also. So that is there. Now we have the concerns, especially with reference to India's digital divide, right? I think write it in the comment section some good point on the digital divide, and write it in your copy pen or paper copy also. So digital divide. So economically weaker sections are not able to get access to the online education because of the pandemic. We have experienced the loss in the learning outcomes. So that is there. Right. Then the issue of addiction, screen addiction, that is there. So that is also happening, and because all of us are doing this on the mobile phone, very small screens, this is problematic. In fact, I would encourage that you watch this class and most of the online classes that you do on the laptops. That I would encourage you to do. Okay. Yeah, this is it. Now what can the government do? They can, we have global experts can collaborate together, they can work together. We need to look at new possibilities over here, at the same time address these concerns. Now we have massive open online courses are there that are being encouraged by the government. There is also something known as Swayam for online self-learning. This portal has been created. Right, so write this in your own word, in 250 words. So word limit is not an issue over here. Write it and share it with me. An oasis in the heart of concrete jungle. This is again one more answer I missed. This is very important. An oasis in the heart of a concrete jungle. This expression is also very nice. Okay, we are basically referring to, this urbanization that is taking place. So everything is becoming concretized. So footpaths are there, roads are there, sites, construction buildings are there, everything is concretized. So that is why it is being called as concrete jungle. So here we are referring to around the area next to Gurgaon, there is a wetland known as Basai wetland. So there is a concern that this town planning that is taking place, this urbanization is taking place without due consideration to the impact it will have on the ecosystem. There is a concern that this very important wetland will get deteriorated, and this wetland is a site for the migratory birds to come. It is a site for wetlands are usually reservoirs of water, which when the floods are taking place or when there is excessive rain, the water is drained towards that excessive water. And sometimes, not just with the Basai but any other place, the wetlands also play a role in supplying water to the cities. Okay, so there is a concern with this. Now these wetlands are a site for the migratory birds that are coming from Europe and Central Asia. These are birds this is a wetland that has been recognized as a very important bird watching destination by Bombay Natural History Society. A question was asked in 2014 Prelims on this particular society, and I noticed that it is also mentioned in the NCERT. Okay, so these are the things you should read more about. And with reference to migratory birds, as I told you earlier also, we have something known as Bonn Convention, only convention for migratory species. Again, you should know. Okay, now I have a question and we'll correlate the same with this. with this particular topic. So wetlands near urban areas, urban centers are under increasing developmental pressure for residential, industrial and commercial facilities. How does it affect the urban environment and what corrective measures need to be undertaken? Clear? Simple? There is a problem. I mean, now there is no reference of Basai wetlands and all those things that I told you, they were important for prelims. Now we are coming to the mains component. Now this is not the only time where we see that because of the urban development, the wetlands are getting affected. So here you have to give some maybe anecdotal evidence. If you have a fact on wetlands, you can introduce by stating about that. Then you have to explain the benefits of the wetlands as to how it is a site for the migratory birds, and also it plays a role in regulating the local environment of that area, right? Then express the concerns associated with the destruction of the habitat, the destruction of the wetlands, and it is not just affecting the species, it is also affecting the humankind in the sense that it may lead to the issue of water scarcity, receding groundwater tables, because this wetlands that are there, they help in percolation of water. When the rains take place, percolation of water into the ground, so groundwater recharge, and this groundwater is something that you again use pumps and draw it into your water tanks. So these are the issues that need to be done. I have a video also on urban flooding. A question was also asked, so something that is related to this particular topic. If you have to have an issue with the water scarcity and the water floods, you can watch that video, short 12-15 minutes video. Just write urban floods space IASPrimers. Okay, now what needs to be done? And this is something important. So given the significance of the wetlands, right, these wetlands are of importance both for the species as well as the humankind. So a line to that effect you can write. Then we need to have some legal or statutory protection to it. So we have a Wetland Protection Act. We have certain international conventions like Ramsar Act, Montrex Records. So under that also we should use and try to protect our wetlands so that they are not encroached upon by the people associated with property, land mafia, etc. So that needs to be protected. Then conservation of wetland should be central to urban planning. In fact, I think this could have come earlier. So it should be central to urban planning. Here this line is also there. For town planners, urbanization is out of sync with the environment, right? So it's very cynical, so I'm avoiding this. But yes, so that has to be there. It should be central to it. And with reference to this, you can also give a reference of how Chennai floods could be mitigated. We have the issue of climate change. We have the issue of heat island effect, that areas, the cities are getting heated. The concrete that all the building structures are made of, so that stores heat and then it keep radiating it. So it's very, very warm around the area. In that light, having environmental areas, having that ecology, that helps moderating the temperature, moderating the effect of that heat island effect. So such problems can be mitigated. Now you can have this, making this government complies with the law. The laws are already there for this thing. We know that town planners should be, their planning should be in sync with the environment. But all of this will be implemented only if there is some sort of a Jan Andolan. The government likes this expression Jan Andolan. So that will happen when community is aware of this issue. People are sensitive to these concerns. Then only they will hold the government accountable for this migration of wetlands or this encroachment over the wetlands and expansion of the urban cities. So citizens have to demand to the government, ask right questions, and then only we can solve this concern. So this is how you can approach this issue. Rare insect sighted in Seshachalam. Two things, and this site is very important, and specifically these days there is this movie Pushpa, right? So Pushpa was based on this Seshachalam. More than the insect, it is the site that is important. And I think you know lot about the site, as I told you about the Pushpa movie. Okay, now we have this rare insect that has been found, right? The scientific name has been given. I'm not attempting it on online, this thing, Lefebvre, I don't know how it is pronounced, but yes, these are the names. It is known as the black percher or ground skimmer. It is found in the tropical areas naturally. It is a class of insecta. Now with reference to species, what do we search for? The IUCN status. So this IUCN status is of least concern. In India it is rarely found, but in Africa, whole of Africa, it is very easily seen. Eurasia and Africa. So it is very easily seen. Now this has been found in Seshachalam, and this is our area of concern. Now Seshachalam, because UPSC asks question, that is why I'm saying. So see, one thing you should need to know, it is a biosphere reserve, and it is in this biosphere reserve we have something known as red sandalwood, right? So this is found, and we all know this is in where Pushpa was shot, which was in Andhra Pradesh, right? So in the coastal Andhra Pradesh region, forest locations, coast Andhra Pradesh region, there it is found. Now we need to know more about this Seshachalam, right? So yeah, so here we have certain other important sites also. These are the Rayalaseema uplands, Nandyal Valley to the north, these are found. Then Tirupati temple, a major Hindu pilgrimage site, is also located over here. Furthermore, it contains 7 peaks, namely these, again you need to know because it's highlighted over here. Furthermore, it has 7 hoods of Lord Adisesha, the king of serpents in Hindu mythology. Then within the biosphere, biosphere is a very large area, and within the biosphere there may be national parks and wildlife sanctuaries. So we have a national park known as Sri Venkateshwara National Park. So a question could be asked, and some statements are there, and then options would be there, like which of the following statements are correct, 1, 2, 5, like that. Options could be there. The famous natural arc, Tirumala Hills, etc. are part of this. Okay, now coming back to this biosphere thing. So biosphere, as I said, it's a very big area. So these are very rare. National parks are many national parks, and much more wildlife sanctuaries are there, because wildlife sanctuaries that have been protected comes under national park. Greater protection is provided. So there are few, and some of the biosphere reserves are recognized under Man and Area Biosphere Program. So this is coming from UNESCO, right? So UNESCO has this Man and Biosphere Program. Now a site that is listed in it, those sites, especially the recent ones, are more likely to be asked in your prelims, and the ones that are in the tentative category. Now, to my knowledge, Seshachalam is not mentioned in the Man and Biosphere Program. You can still check with it. I couldn't find it. I did a very quick search, so you can cross-check that. But it is not listed. So these are very, very important sites, MAP program sites. Now coming to the opinion section on Central Asia. So we have an opinion over here. So recently there was a summit that took place where the leaders of the Central Asian countries were there. Now here we have a new perspective where we are looking as to India's complications with USA, Russia, China. So let me just give you a brief overview as to what all is happening, and then I'll come to the articles, key pointers that you need to know. So basic thing is that this region that you see is essentially Central Asia. Now don't ask me Afghanistan is in the SAARC. Right, so SAARC is a South Asian countries clubbed together. Okay, so these are Central Asian countries. Now with the reference to Central Asian countries over here, the basic issue is that we have certain interests in terms of resources. These areas are rich in resources, especially energy resources, uranium, natural gas, etc. We have this Tapi pipeline that is proposed, but that never comes. It often goes to China. Right, so this is a problem that we keep having. So energy resources are there. Then all these regions are concerned with the developments in Afghanistan. Right, Afghanistan, we have a Taliban. Taliban based government, which has been given Ashirwad by Pakistan, and Pakistan has been given the blessings of China. And when Taliban government, the illegitimate Taliban government came into existence, at that time China had very keenly, oh come, we will have a diplomatic meeting with you. All the countries were saying that we will not talk to you, but they were very keen. And we know that China and India have a problem, right? This is a problem with this, right? I think this thing is clear. And yes, they have a problem because if Taliban comes here, Taliban is a militant organization, so it can export terror to these regions, right? This is a problem. And furthermore, this area is also known as the Golden Crescent. It is where the opium grows, and we have a past experience that Taliban, this militant organization, has been trading in opium, and opium is used for making drugs. So drug addiction can be a problem, and that India is also concerned with this. Now, likewise, if there is a political instability in this, it will affect Russia, because this region was part of USSR earlier, so they have a close linkage. And furthermore, the population towards the southern side of Russia, that is this connecting region, these are Central Asians ethnically. So this may create internal turmoil in Russia also. So they are also concerned with this. Okay, now let's reassess from this opinion over here. Now the problem with India is that India seems to be isolated at this point of time, because till the time USA was there in Afghanistan, everything was well and good. We were also having this Chabahar port connectivity project connecting us, and we were also thinking about the Ashgabat agreement and North-South transport corridor connecting us till Russia. Everything was going good. But now Taliban has come to existence, and Taliban, Pakistan never liked India's influence in Afghanistan, and now they have Taliban. And this policy of having an organization that works for Pakistan is known as deep state strategy or deep state doctrine of Pakistan. And the idea is to counter India's influence. Okay. So this is the problem, that our connectivity is also getting affected, and furthermore, our influence in this region is getting hampered. So what India wants to do is, India wants to have better relations, first of all, with Central Asia, to have deepening of ties. Maybe it will not be as profitable. This line is also given over here. This benefits may be minimal, but non-engagement could be costly, right? So this is a problem over here with us. Then we have Pakistan and China, who have a great advantage, a leverage against India at this point of time. This is a matter of concern. So what India can do is, India can have deeper engage with Central Asia, and furthermore collaborate with Russia. And this it needs to do because Russia is a major power in this region. Pakistan, China being aligned is detrimental to India's concern. So Russia can counter that influence of China in this particular region. China being a major powerful country, they can do that. So it can do. And because of US absence, China and Pakistan has a greater advantage. So then that is basically saying. So it says we need to engage with Russia on the Central Asian issue. And furthermore, we need to have Iran. Iran is, if we are looking at the Chabahar port project, it is coming from the Iranian port, Chabahar, and from there will be rail connectivity. But the problem arises with the USA. So USA is concerned that Iran is having a nuclear program. So they don't want nuclearization of this area. They don't want Iran to make nuclear weapons. So they have a concern, and therefore they imposed sanctions on Iran. And that means no country can invest or trade with Iran. That means the Chabahar port project is also affected here also at the very inception state. Now this sanction has been imposed by an organization, US-backed organization known as Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. And this includes P5+1. All this is important for your prelims. So P5+1. That this P5 members, one is Germany, +1 is Germany over here. So it says that we need to have, US needs to provide this concession. India needs to discuss with USA on this particular issue. and at the same time engage with Russia. And furthermore, with India and USA having deepening of ties, somewhere they have to bring Russia on board with this issue, given the come to a pragmatic conclusion to this problem. They need to be practical on this issue, that we cannot, this is a unipolar world and India needs to work with USA for meeting its strategic objectives, and sometimes Russia can also align. Right, so this thing is there over here. And furthermore, I think we know this, that with reference to the Afghan issue, India and Central Asia country formed a joint working group so that they have some sort of a consensus as to how they approach Afghanistan. Our Finance Minister Sitharaman to discuss aviation fuels inclusion in GST regime, and this is what is of importance for our prelims. Now quickly, why do we need aviation fuel in GST regime? So first of all, the aviation fuel is known as aviation turbine fuel, and we know that this is basically a very refined form of kerosene. Now we know that the fuel prices are increasing, right? And the ATF that goes into the planes, this is the chunk of the cost, and this is taxed at a very high rate. I mean, imagine it is higher than what we are paying for the petroleum and other things that we buy, petrol, diesel. Why it is taxed higher? Because it is seen that ATF, this fuel, the airplane fuel, is like kind of a luxury. It is a people with luxury, they fly, so therefore they should be taxed at a higher rate. Now this goes contrary, it is antithetical to India's Udan initiative, where it says Ude Desh ka Aam Nagrik, that is a common man should travel and have affordable travel. But you are having ATF at a very high rate tax. So this is a demand of the aviation companies that this should be rationalized and it should be brought under the GST regime. Clear? Now to bring this under the GST regime, what is the GST regime that we need to know? So we have something known as GST Council. GST Council includes the representations or the ministers of the state. Let me just draw this. This is the GST Council. This is Delhi, central government, that means, and different state governments. So they send their representatives. So we have the finance minister who chairs the GST Council, and then we have ministers that are nominated by the states. Clear? GST Council, and they decide that what policies have to be taken, which subject should be included or not. And somewhere, if you see, this is also where the center and the states are working together. So this is an example of cooperative federalism. Now in this reference, the finance minister is chairing this. This is all important for prelims. And when a decision is to be taken, the center has 1/3 weightage. That is, when the finance minister votes on a particular issue, that is considered as 1/3 of the total weightage. So example, if there were 10 votes in entirety, that is, so 7 is to that weightage is 7 is for the states, and if the finance minister takes, then it will be 3, right? Something like that. 1/3 is given to the center over here. So these are the things that you need to know. And I think by now you know what is GST also. GST is an indirect tax. So there were different indirect tax of the center and the states. So they have been merged together into GST. Still certain subjects are there that are left out, like your petrol and diesel. So center has a different, there is no GST. So center has their own excise duty, states have their own duty on that. Okay, now coming to the last topic, and we have two very important ideas over here. So we have the Sri Lanka's foreign minister coming to Delhi. So they will have a meeting over here, and naturally there are certain concerns that India and Sri Lanka have. So that will be discussed. Now in this reference we get two issues. So one is, now recently also in the Friday news, we had discussed about the fishermen issue. So they are going to discuss the fishermen issue between the Indians and the Sri Lankans, right? So this issue will be done. They will be talking about this. Then we have Sri Lanka has fallen into a debt crisis. They do not have money. Why? because again they don't have adequate means. Like India is a big country, they don't have those adequate means, and furthermore they have been drawing lot of debt from a country known as China. So it is also known as debt trap diplomacy. Keep giving debt, force the country into an obligation, then that they know that Sri Lanka will not be able to pay back the money, but they keep pushing money in form of a loan, and then this country is in an obligation to please. They will give certain land for defense or navy exercises, so that they have to do, because they are not able to pay back the debt. So they have to do something in kind. So that is known as debt trap diplomacy, and this is a concern for India because we can imagine that there will be naval presence of China. So some naval ports can be created in Sri Lanka by China against India's interest. So as a counter to this, we are giving them some credit at a very concessional rate. So we are providing a line of credit agreement that is $500 million. So this we are providing to them because this country is under severe currency reserve crunch. So this is a problem. And furthermore, they are going to discuss about the BIMSTEC. So BIMSTEC summit is going to take place now. Now coming to the BIMSTEC over here, right? So this is Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation. Now I'll tell you the briefly politics about this. And see, these are basically Bay of Bengal countries. As you can see, this is very clear from the map before you, right? So these countries are there. Now in the recent times, specifically after the Uri attack that had taken place, right? Because of the Uri attack and because of Pakistan not giving us adequate support with anything that we want. So Pakistan and India are SAARC members. So BIMSTEC is kind of an arrangement where almost all the countries are there. Nepal, Bhutan, SAARC countries are there minus Pakistan. But unfortunately Afghanistan is also not there because it's not part of the Bay of Bengal. So kind of Indian Ocean diplomacy, kind of India's neighborhood policy. So both can be seen over here. And it is kind of an initiative where India wants to isolate Pakistan. Plus it can have some sort of cooperation because Pakistan was providing obstacles, so they can have cooperation without interference of Pakistan. That is the idea. Now this initiative was started through the Bangkok Declaration. These are important for prelims. So this was in 1997, but this never really took off. But now, because especially after this Uri attack that had taken place, a lot of impetus has been given to this, right? Then we have our Prime Minister also talking about the blue economy. So blue economy has been talked about, and concerns with working with these countries together and the influence of China. So this is seen as a good initiative in that regard, right? So this is basically the BIMSTEC over here. Right then, so this essentially concludes our analysis, the daily news analysis. You can share your answers with me on my Telegram channel or WhatsApp. The link is in the description box below. So this is it from my side. Bye bye, take care, and all the best.